Just letting you know this is only my spoiler first impressions of the episode. Check my pinned comment for a free gift related to this video. And to watch my unfiltered reactions with exclusive bonuses, join my Asha Media TV Club. The link is in the description box below. Now, here's my afterthoughts of this episode of Fringe.
They're gonna take him out of the mirror? I can't help but go into that world of things. But they'll do it in a sciencey way? Oh my gosh. Okay, wow. Another episode to render me speechless with joy and shock and surprise. Oh, okay, I want to just go back to that real quick for myself before I start babbling away. Just at the beginning, because it was on her computer, and I'm like, the similarity to Peter with the head shape, but I was like, no, that can't be possible. She would have his face on her computer. Yeah, right here. Yeah. It's right there. So she was looking at facial recognition for 3 freaking weeks and she didn't say shit. Because, let's say he didn't have this episode where she catches him about to lobotomize himself or do whatever he was doing. How long would she have kept that to herself? Because it's one thing to just have it once in a while, but a very distinct vision where she could sketch out his face perfectly. That is interesting that she wouldn't have at least attempted to talk to Walter about it, but I know you could easily argue his state of mind and all that, and she probably would need to be certain that he could have been somebody. So yeah, you don't want to go, okay, yeah. I'm already seeing the counter. I'm hearing it already in my own head. Okay, wow, so much to dive in with this episode. Let's start with, of course, this kind of alternate spin on the season 1, episode 15 episode with the child observer-like situation where they find a boy and he is abandoned. But let me just add on how I love the reasoning they gave with him not having anybody around, because it's very relatable to today's world with kids and how parents will go out of town or where you have your parents working a lot and really your neighbor will kind of play that quasi-babysitter situation. So I like how it tied in perfectly with what would likely happen to kids so that they not only have to not deal with parents, an extra cast to kind of interfere with the story, but it also adds on to this boy's situation of being alone, not having any friends, being bullied, finding somewhat of a friendship, really, or a connection emotionally to these spores. Gus, okay, we'll say Gus, and I like at first, even though I don't like the name Gus, it's very useful to kind of talk about the situation by naming it. So yes, he makes friends with Gus, and it just blends itself so well. It doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel like they just have to tack on that for the sake of moving the story forward. And God, yeah, that's so awesome. So awesome. And then the main part, which I'm going to tell you it is my favorite scene, only because of how much it emotionally connects me back to the previous episode, episode 2, which I love so much. And that's the part here, I'm kind of going to jumble a little bit because I wanted to go in a linear fashion, but only because the thought right now is fresh. Let me just get to it. And the moment I'm talking about is where Walter reassures him that he did nothing wrong. And I had said it out loud, reassure him of that so that the guilt doesn't fester, doesn't get worse. And very similar to what was said in the previous episode, it was when you get to that point of such darkness, you then start to act it out. And if no one reinforces to this child that he didn't do nothing wrong and that it's okay, things will, be fine kind of thing, it'll guide him to the light, the whole darkness and light thing. I mean, it's a very simplistic form in which I'm able to express that, but Walter's reinforcement in that moment I guess you could say for this story, for this child, for Aaron, that's like, what do you call there? A crossroads, right? That's a crossroads for him. Telling him you didn't do nothing wrong, you're fine. It's leading him to the direction of the light side and not anger and hate and all that, okay? So you get that part. All right, let's now, let me now tackle some other stuff of what was going on. So that part where at the beginning, Lincoln is sitting down with Olivia and she's reaching out to him to let him know that she's there if he wants to talk. And he's all like, oh, you know, I'm cool. I'm not freaked out. And then they just have it nicely at the end where he's like, yeah, I'm freaking freaked out. And she's right there holding him. She's got him, right? She's there for him. I just love her expression when he's like, you want to talk now? She's like, boy! That was good. Small things like that can just leave such a deep impression of an episode that makes it even more fun to rewatch it. I love that. I would say that's probably my second favorite scene of this episode. And then we have the Gus situation. The practical effects more than anything is very, very impressive. I love how their spin of it is just as fun to watch, even though you've seen it a million times. Them giving it the name of Gus, lots of fun to watch. Very cool. And more importantly, it aged well. Visually, it was just as like, ugh, to watch, especially when they went to lunch on people in the hospital. The part where I thought Lincoln and Olivia would save them. But then just seeing the aftermath of it and what the art department, makeup team, how they designed all that in whatever period of time they're given to even shoot this episode. That's another thing that just impresses me so much because television production goes by really fast. You really got to get things moving. And so the team they had creating the show, not only can you see how well organized and perhaps really, really creative on levels that is just fantastic, to get that all executed so well, episode per episode at best, you know, that is very impressive. Very impressive. Yeah. So we have that. Gus and the special effects, good job. And the biggest elephant in the room, Walter, seeing Peter. And as painful as it is to watch those scenes where he's grappling with his mental health, it really does make me as a viewer feel so much of this weight of the loss he had, the double loss. Both Peters, I'm glad the way it came up to explain to me what's now the situation with how both Peter died. And in my opinion, I know there's so many varying opinions as I've seen it so far in the comment section about both Walters and, you know, which one's worse than the other, this one's done that stuff and all. I know all that. But at this point in time, until, you know, I wrap up the whole series, I empathize a lot more with Walter than I do with Walter Nate so far. And if I'm going to go by this new timeline, this Walter has had it twice as bad. I mean, imagine you go and try and save the other Peter and he dies too. Like, when I think back on that episode when he even got that Peter, and without September going in there to save them, when he was trying to right his own wrong, like, oh my gosh, I'm really now kind of seeing a pattern. Anyway, I don't want to entertain that thought right now because I'm going to go off in a rabbit hole. Okay, all right, so yes, the whole thing with Peter, now we have Olivia who's been seeing a vision of Peter and then thinking, is that touching on her Cortexiphan ability? She saw Peter in the previous season, and that was her anchor. So Peter's always there because he's not technically erased. So I have to remember that. That's why. Either way, there's the link to those that you're close to. That's part of the theme of this episode as well, with the boy and Gus. Oh, all the above, people, all of the above. All right. That's all I'm gonna say about it. I'm leaving the rest to you. Break down some of your favorite moments, how would you summarize this episode to a viewer that just watched it for the first time like me? Because I love breakdowns and I love reading how eloquent some of you would write your paragraphs about aspects of the episode you really appreciated and that stands out for you and that you would want me to pay attention to as well. So, in terms of Ashamoji, I think that's quite obvious. It is definitely an excellent episode that deserves five Ashamojis. So there you have it. That's my afterthoughts about episode 3 from the 4th season of Fringe. I hope you've enjoyed it. You know I look forward to reading your comments. Stay tuned until the next episode, to which I'll see you then. Peace out.
Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe and check out my other videos.